What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for To Your Eternity. This is episode 16, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
So picking up sometime after Fushi and the others ended up defeating the Knocker and him finally getting some of his forms back, he ends up, celebrating with the other kids, and he starts, warming up to them, including willing to drink the cow's blood that was offered to him in the last episode, which is just kind of weird. I don't even know how that stuff even tastes for real. But
Not so good, I would imagine.
But I don't know. But yeah, so they do have a more developing relationship than the last episode, because Fushi back then was more distant toward these people and was kind of dismissive of how how would I say this? Like they were not mentally there most of the time, that he thought that they were, that they don't really fit in to, the people that he used to hang out with. So now he's been having chats with them during the celebration. And then I think one of the girls asked him what Fushi's dream is, what he wants to do after he's done whatever he's whatever objective he's doing. And Fushi, he doesn't even know what he wants to do. I think he said the only goal that he wants to accomplish is killing the Knockers, which I don't know, it's kind of easier said than done, whatever his task is. But I think, as we know, his main task is to preserve the world or something like that. But, of course, everyone else just goes, through some of their examples of what they want to do, once they get off the island. One of them wants to become a model, and the other one wants to become a doctor, and so on and so forth. And Tonari wants to become a writer once she gets off the island.
Yeah. This is kind of where, they also, don't have, that much food, I guess, and they're kind of hungry. So Fushi, of course, produces more food for them to eat. I guess without realizing that some of the food that he produced has, that sleeping agent in it that he was given, before.
Yeah.
So all of them just end up falling asleep.
I think it was
except for Tonari. Well, actually, yeah, no, Tonari doesn't fall asleep. All of them are knocked out, but she wakes back up again.
Yeah. Well, I think it was Tonari was a bit more reluctant in eating the food that that Fushi produced to them. So I think it was mostly only the ramen noodles that he offered them had the knockout agent. So so I think Tonari kind of avoided that. But so Fushi, of course, goes out for a walk, and then Tonari ends up waking back up, and then starts writing in their journal, pretty much detailing the history of her life, including what happened to her parents.
Yeah, so we get more of her backstory in this episode, basically where it explains how she got to the island. She explains basically, we find out that her father was accused of murdering her mother, and we don't really get to find out what actually happened there. She finds her mother dead on the floor, and I guess they accuse her father of being the murderer. So then they try to ship him off to the island, and of course she doesn't think that he actually killed her, so she goes with him. And of course, in order for him to obtain his freedom, he has to fight in that tournament. So he ends up fighting. He basically ends up telling Tonari he's going to fight. So we see basically sort of a montage of him fighting. And I guess he of course he does end up winning the tournament, but he sort of I guess loses himself in the process, where he just becomes sort of a different person. He just has this bloodlust now, and he's just not the same. And I guess they're trying to set Tonari said he it goes off to try to find his body. I guess I guess in her mind she's convinced it's not the same, he's not the same person anymore, and he died or something like that. So she tries digging through the pit of bodies that they have, but of course isn't gonna actually find his body. And she goes back to the dock and finds like that journal that she writes in. I guess it's something, her father left to her, because like there's a note there, that was from her father. And like right after this, we actually see well, first of all, we find out that her father has become the lord of the island now. But right after she gets the journal, we see him there. He just drank something and he like falls over. I thought he was drunk at first, but actually, I guess he drank some kind of poison. Because these two guys poisoned him, I guess, to get revenge on somebody he killed in the tournament. And then they just like throw him into the water. It's kind of funny because Tonari just kind of walks off and doesn't acknowledge any of this happening.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then of course they just kind of do these like time skips where it shows, what she started doing throughout the years, like how she met up with these people she hangs out with now, because they're like the same as her. She just started taking on these jobs, and it basically just goes all the way up until the age she is now, which is 14, where she met Fushi.
And of course we find out who was the one who told Tonari to get Fushi onto that ship, and it was of course Hayase, who also like willingly goes into the ship as well.
Is it just me, or does Hayase now look like Sasuke Uchiha?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I don't think it really came across my mind when I saw her.
That's kind of what I thought when I was like, just see how she looks now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, she grew out her hair much longer than before, and
she has like these like kind of different. Her eyes are different. Like I don't know if her eyes got like poked out, or but her eyes like just look like completely dead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was because like Fushi ended up scarring her down the eyes, so it could be maybe some discoloration in the eyes, but yeah. So the next day, Fushi manages to finally get into Pioron's cell, and he reassures her that once he wins the tournament, that he'll be able to commandeer a boat and get everyone out of there. So, but unfortunately for him, once he gets into the tournament, his final opponent ends up being Hayase.
Yeah. So he at first takes the form of Oganuma and tries to kill her that way. But of course she's pretty adept and can avoid like pretty much all of his blows. So he transforms into a lot of different forms to try to fight her. But she pretty much like knows all of his attacks and is able to like dodge all of them pretty much. Pretty much all of them. Like she doesn't really get hit. So I guess it's probably because she's been watching him a lot, so she knows his moves. But of course, because none of these other forms work, he eventually. Well, actually, before this even starts, like when they first meet up at the tournament, she basically, Fushi finds out that it's her, and she kind of like, provokes him to attacking. So the whole time she's sort of like trying to provoke him and to antagonize him to try to kill her. But she can pretty much dodge around like all of his attacks. Mm-hmm. So eventually he ends up transforming into Perona. And this is where we kind of get revealed like what happened to Perona, because we get a flashback that shows that basically Hayase and her people ended up capturing her and beheading her. So yeah, she did not go out in a good way. So that's pretty much why Fushi can take her form now. Mm-hmm. And this, of course, just really enrages Fushi once he finds out about this.
Yeah, like he just like go like all this time, like we see here, his pacifist nature of him being unwilling to kill anyone for whatever reason. But now, like with Hayase just basically just provoking him, and pretty much like everything she's done, like towards the people that he's cared about, she's like literally the first person that he's willing to consider killing. Yeah, he pretty much just goes all out against her at this point, just transforming multiple times into different people. But she gets the upper hand by incapacitating him with something. Yeah, like I would assume it's like the same knockout agent that she planted in their food before.
Which is something I didn't consider. I was like, yeah, that's that is a good way they could, somebody who's immortal, like, they could get somebody in a fight, they could get advantage over them by not really like killing them, but just by, knocking them out. So yeah, she knocks him out, and of course is pretty much declared the winner and like the new lord of the island.
Yeah, I mean, and of course we do get a preview of what happens for the next episode. Of course she wants to make Fushi into her plaything now, which is kind of creepy, but it's
pretty much what she was doing when she first got him. So I mean, I guess it makes sense. She basically wants to experiment on him,
or I don't know. I feel like she wants to do something else with him in particular. Like,
well, she maybe just try to discover the secret of immortality or something like that.
I don't. Honestly, I just think there was something else going on with Hayase's obsession with Fushi in particular. But honestly, I mean, we'll see. We'll see in the next episode. But I'm guessing that there's something more than just like her, curious about his immortality. I think I'm definitely sure there's something else going on with, what she wants to do with Fushi.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if there is. Like, so far I just see her as just being really like obsessed and creepy. But I mean, maybe she has other motivations that we don't know about.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like this episode really went by like really fast. To be honest, it's I mean, we did get like some amount of backstory with Tonari, but I still feel like with all the other characters that Fushi has interacted with, I think the clock is already ticking with Tonari at this point.
Yeah, I think we should assume like every character he ends up coming across that have some kind of impact on the plot will eventually die. It kind of seems that way.
Yeah. So it looks like, I think how many episodes we have left? We have only 4 more episodes left of the season, which is a little bit disappointing. I thought there would be, at least be 24 episodes, but they.
Yeah, I guess it's just going to finish out this story arc.
Yeah, I mean,
which has been a kind of interesting story arc so far. I think my favorite is probably, I guess, the one with Gugu. Like, that was the most interesting one. But this one is also kind of interesting too.
Yeah, it develops Fushi even further into interacting with more people, and of course, him finally interacting with Hayase again after all this time. Yeah, I guess she's gonna be like pretty much the main villain for the rest of this season, honestly, because I guess like now that she's taken over, I guess Fushi and his friends are gonna have to try to figure out how they can like get rid, or just take control from her somehow, or defeat her, I guess. But, there's also the knockers that we have to consider. Maybe it's possible that the knockers might end up coming back again. So
I feel like what's going to happen is Fushi's going to basically be forced to like kill somebody, because we know at this point like Fushi is really averse to killing people. But like, what if like Hayase is going to like try to force him to actually do it? Like it seems like that's maybe where it's going. Where like he might have to actually kill her.
Yeah. I'm curious of like, how if Hayase is gonna leave some kind of impression on Fushi.
Well, I think that's the impression it might leave, is that he would actually have had killed somebody, and that would like definitely leave an impression on him. But I don't know. Like, I also of course anticipate that characters like Tonari, like it's very likely they could die. So I mean, that's something else that could also leave another impression on him. Maybe even Pyoran might not be totally safe. Who knows? That could leave an impression on him too. So I mean, there's a few things that could happen.
But yeah, I thought this, it was a good episode. Going into Tonari's backstory, and I think this episode definitely sets up the finale for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, Yeah, I thought it was a good episode. I don't really have too much else to say about it. I did think it was interesting to hear more about Tonari's backstory, and I like that we got reintroduced to Hayase as a villain. So I'm kind of wondering what she's going to do now. I mean, obviously we know she's going to continue her experiments, but like I kind of wonder what's going to happen to characters like Tonari or PRN or whatever. Like I feel like she's probably going to maybe use PRN to like further antagonize Fushi or something like that.
Most likely.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if you have anything else to say about this episode.
I like I said, it was a good episode. It went by really, fairly quickly, to be honest. And even with like us being shown Tonari's backstory, it's just much of it's just breezed by really fast, including the fight between Fushi and Hayase just went by really quickly too.
Yeah, I mean, it really wasn't much of a fight. Like Hayase had the upper hand the whole time. I mean, Fushi did end up like stabbing her in the arm, but that's about it.
Yeah, it looked like a really deep, cut on the arm.
She kind of shrugged it off like it was nothing.
Yeah,
so, I mean.
and also the fact that that part of the blade is also a part of Fushi, and it starts like, I don't know, it's just like just started wiggling around on on the broken end or something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, so that all being said, I guess until next Monday, we will see you all next time.